Thank you, Hugh, for that kind introduction, and thank you for that very warm reception just now. Can I thank everyone I've met for the warm welcome I've received in Austin, or as an Austinite said to me last night, the People's Republic of Austin. You hear good things about Texas back home, and indeed Austin has been full of good things. There's the famous expression, everything's bigger in Texas. And from what I've seen over the last couple of days, this turns out to be true, apart from me, obviously. But to be honest, the thing that surprised me the most is the number of hipsters I've encountered. Wow! I'm starting to feel a bit left out without a beard. But seriously, it's a real honour to be back in the US and a real privilege to be following in the footsteps of some truly inspirational people at this prestigious conference. Unfortunately, due to the time difference, the sun has already set back home in London. But one upshot of giving this speech now is the sun hasn't set in Washington, D.C. yet. This hopefully means no late-night tweets attacking me during the course of this speech. Let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'd like to talk today about one of our biggest shared challenges, a challenge facing Britain, America, and countries and cities across Europe in equal measure. And that's ensuring that the advancement of technology is for the benefit of everyone in society. In the US, the UK, and other countries around the world, we're experiencing a period of historic change and uncertainty. This is affecting our politics, our economies, and our societies. I make this speech today at a time when back home in Britain, we're still reeling from the outcome of the referendum to leave the European Union. Sadly, we're only preparing for the economic storm Brexit could bring, but dealing with something far deeper, something that has been bubbling under the surface for many years, but has only been truly exposed more recently. And that's the increasing disconnect and disillusionment of many communities across Britain, from our politics, from our economy, and our shared way of life. The truth is that many of those who voted to leave the EU did so because of a deep sense of unease about globalization, about the modern world and pace of change, and about the inequality they experience. London is one of the most diverse cities in the world, with more than 300 languages spoken and with young and old living cheek by jowl. This is one of our greatest strengths. But as a nation, we're becoming increasingly polarized, with the politics of blame and hatred seeping deeper into our national debates. Here in the US and in countries across Europe, there have been similar expressions of unease, fear, and anger. And this is evident in the rise in nativism and populism, and in a divisive form of political discourse becoming the norm. Just look at the latest elections in Italy, last week. Of course, there are multiple reasons for this trend, and the honest truth is we don't yet have all the answers. But there are some undeniable common threads. Growing groups of people who feel increasingly left behind by deindustrialization and globalization. And the way technology has, and still is, profoundly changing our economies and our way of life. The dominant characteristic is the unprecedented scale and speed of change, especially change driven by technology. We see it all around us. Technology is disrupting and shifting the way we do everything. The nature of our economies and the types of jobs available, where we live and how we travel, the way we consume news and process information, and vitally, the way we communicate and interact with one another. How we deal with this transformation will be a defining challenge of the 21st century, because it cuts across so many layers of our society, politics, economics, and the general well-being of modern citizens. The question now is not only how we utilize this new technology for the benefit of everyone in our society, how we use it to reduce inequality and to maintain decent employment rights. Just as significant is how we prevent harm to the social cohesion of our communities and how we interact with one another. With these types of profound questions, we rely on the principled judgments made by the innovators themselves. But the public also has a right to be heard and a right to expect democratic leaders to guide them along this delicate path. And this is something I believe has been absent in recent years. We've been through major technology revolutions before. Overall, we've come out stronger and more prosperous. These advances have brought us some of humanity's greatest accomplishments. The first industrial revolution, born in Britain, not only changed my country, but the rest of the world. We had the rise of the middle class for the first time, and the innovations that were developed, such as the steam train and new machinery, contributed to the advancement of agriculture, industry, and trade. But it also led to unrest and protests from the Luddites who fared for their textile jobs, and to an era of greater pollution, child labour, and unsafe working conditions before the advent of trade unions and proper employment laws. All revolutions are by their very nature disruptive, but this fourth industrial revolution that we're going through now is different. It's different to those that came before, with far greater risks. We're now in a new era where exponential change can happen and spread across the world faster than ever before. And just as many have felt marginalized by shifts away from manufacturing and blue-collar industries, for today's workers, there's a fear that new technology is bypassing the skills they've spent their lifetime developing, and the social contract struck by the post-war generation on employment rights, rights that were hard-won and decades in the making. If managed poorly, and if tech sectors are tempted to reap the rewards of their innovations without a care for their wider impact, I fear all this change risks an age of unprecedented inequality and division that could undermine the pillars and key institutions of our society. Take social media. A handful of the largest global tech companies have managed to amass an enormous amount of power over how information is consumed. Platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube have brought huge benefits to society. They've made it easier for us to stay in touch with those we love, meet like-minded people, and have easier access to information we want. And they've enabled talented people to share their creativity directly with the world. But understandably, there are growing concerns about the way some of the biggest companies on the planet are impacting our lives and the overall well-being of our societies. In some cases, these new platforms have been used to exacerbate, fuel, and deepen the divisions within our communities. The impact is and continues to be profound and should worry democracies around the world. We've already seen evidence of elections and referendums being influenced, a rise in online abuse, misogyny, and religious hatred, fake news spreading misinformation, algorithms blinkering us from different points of view and pushing people to extremes, and terrorists and far-right groups using social media to not only conspire but to radicalize and brainwash others. All of this is dividing and polarizing us rather than uniting us. I know all this too well from personal experience. I receive loads of stuff on Twitter and Facebook on a daily basis. I want to share with you today just half a dozen of the types of tweets that I receive. @Mem Usay tweeted, "Deport all Muslims and make London white again. All problems will be gone." @Warprever tweeted, "Sadiq Khan is just a gay Muzzy terrorist." @Emmanuel_Maris tweeted, "Muslims have no dignity. I wish Sadiq Khan would blow himself up like they all do. He might get his 12 virgins." @BillWall69 tweeted, "I say, kill the Mayor of London and you will be rid of one Muslim terrorist." @Latino_Amante tweeted, "Treason is still a crime punishable by death in this country. Your name will be at the top of that list." @Speedwagon PRST tweeted, "I'd pay for someone to execute Sadiq Khan." Now, I could go on, but I won't. I don't read this out to be portrayed as a victim or to ask for sympathy. But ask yourself this: what happens when young boys and girls from minority backgrounds see this kind of thing on their timelines, or experience it themselves, or someone thinking about becoming a politician? And what about girls and women who are being driven from these platforms, reversing our long fight for gender equality? We simply must do more to protect people online. Social media platforms already have a legal obligation to remove content that breaks local laws. But this isn't always happening, or happening quickly enough. Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms are finally starting to react to the criticisms and are developing technology to make sure the reporting process becomes quicker and more effective. And I welcome this. But with the skills and resources these companies have at their disposal, I believe it's possible to go further and faster. What we need to see is a stronger duty of care so that social media platforms can live up to their promises to be places that connect, unify and democratize the sharing of information, and be places where everyone feels welcome